This video is not for experienced chess players. They'll either find that what I say is wrong, which is possible, or they'll say that it's really, really obvious, which I don't think it is really obvious to inexperienced chess players. When I was 6 years old, I was playing chess pretty well for a 6-year-old, but like many young, intelligent people, I had to see a child psychiatrist. And my child psychiatrist, when she played chess with me, she kept changing the rules so that she could win. And it took me years to realize that she was really not interested in winning. She was interested in seeing how I responded to her changing the rules. The way I responded was that I completely quit chess for 40 years and more. My son wanted to play chess. He was briefly interested in chess, so I began playing chess with my son, and he lost interest. And so I've recently started playing chess with computers, which when I was 6 years old wasn't really an option. But I'm surprised what comes back to me and what does not come back to me. So I'm going to share with you first what came back to me after I started playing chess again, and I will also discuss some things that have begun to happen in chess since I quit, and that was a long time ago. So what I remember is this: if you want to threaten the chess piece, you should try to threaten it with a piece of what is considered to be lesser value. And that means threatening things with a pawn if possible, because it's the instinct of the other player, good or bad, to try to attack that piece if it's threatening. Okay, so you can use a pawn to threaten a rook or a knight, and if your opponent wipes out your pawn, that depends on what else happens in the game. It's not clear that that's necessarily a bad idea. You can use the rook to threaten the knight and the bishop, and the king if you threaten the king at a distance. You don't want to threaten a piece with a similar piece, because when it's your opponent's turn, as it will be after you take your turn, if you put your piece in that position, it better be a really good trap. Otherwise, the threat is reciprocal and it's your opponent's turn. So, not a great idea. Not in principle. Okay, you can use the knight to threaten the rook, the bishop, the queen, and the king. The knight is really tricky, and I'm going to come back to the knight after I discuss it. Okay, so bishop is great for threatening rook, knight, and the king again at a distance. Queen is excellent for threatening the knight. That's really important. Potentially the rook or the bishop, although if the queen threatens the rook, it should approach as if she's the bishop. Okay, queen should threaten the bishop as if she is the rook. That is, don't attack from the same angle that the piece can attack you. And again, the king at a distance. King is great for threatening the knight, the rook, and the bishop. And again, the same principle applies. Try to attack the rook diagonally and try to attack the bishop orthogonally, because they can't really mount an equal counteroffensive. It's a pretty simple principle, but the ramifications of it they're complex. Okay, now that said, that is all stuff that I understood when I was pretty little. Since then, there have been published multiple comparative valuations of chess pieces, and I don't think that they're very trustworthy. Or you may have to resort to that as a human player, assuming all the pawns are equal. There's no reason a computer needs to consider pawns to be equal. And so if you're using that as a standard for programming a chess competitive computer, it's probably not as precise as you could be. The pawns, it's said that the pawns all follow the same set of rules of movement and attack. But one of the rules of movement is that they begin in different positions, and that affects what you can and cannot do with them. So to value all the pawns as if they were equal, regardless of what the real value is, to value them all as if they're equal is not really good calculation. And that would also be true of, the two rooks are not really equal, the two knights are not really equal, the two bishops are not really equal. And whoever goes first in the game, okay, affects what can and cannot happen with various pieces later. So your pawn is not only not equivalent to other pawns of your color, it is not equivalent necessarily to pawns of the other color, and that goes for all the other pieces. And I think if you could really, really, really take the game apart, you'd find that no two pieces really have equal value. And probably you wouldn't be able to add two pieces together to get a precise. You see where I'm going with this. Computers shouldn't be trusting humans to tell them what the comparative value of pieces is, and I think this is most conspicuous with the knight. Why? Well, one thing that's cited in comparatively low valuation of the knight, as compared to the rook or the bishop, is the lesser mobility of the knight. I have never seen the knight as being less mobile than the other pieces. It's just that its mode of mobility is not as clear to human players as it would be to a computer player. But think of it this way: the knight, even if it's surrounded, even if all 8 positions tangent to the knight's position are occupied, the knight can still potentially move. Can move without attacking, no less. Can you really say that about any of the other pieces? No, not really. Any other piece, if it were surrounded like that, would have to attack in order to move. That makes the knight a really, really tricky piece to learn how to manipulate well. So my sense is that if you want to prevail against human players, learning how the knight moves better than your opponent is probably the shortest shortcut to a competitive advantage. If you're playing against a computer, the computer doesn't really care, or should not care, that there's something counterintuitive about the knight's movement. If the computer's been told this is the value of the knight, that might affect how the computer plays. So if it undervalues the knight or underestimates the knight because the computer has been given its calculation by humans, there might be some way to exploit that. I'm not there yet. Like I said, I'm coming back to chess just now, and I'm just trying to share the few things I really understand about the game, or few things that I think I understand about the game. We'll see. I'm going to make more videos, and if I have to say, oh, it was totally wrong, what the hell was I talking about, I will do that. I'm not going to lie to you.